Well, the Cabinet Committee on Security, which is the country's highest decision-making body on national security, it has taken some strict and punishing measures against Pakistan over the cross-border linkages that have surfaced in this investigation over this absolutely horrific terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, in which 26 people, including one foreign national, were killed. The boldest move has been to suspend the decades-old Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan indefinitely, and with this, the water supply from the Indus River and its distributaries, which is the Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, the Beas and Satluj, will be stopped. These rivers, do note, are the water supply for Pakistan and impacts tens of millions of people in that country. And this treaty withstood 3 wars between India and Pakistan back in 65, in 1971 and 1999, but it's now suspended indefinitely. In fact, India has had a very strong response. Listen in to what the Ministry of External Affairs had to say regarding the new measures imposed.
The Indus Water Treaty of 1960 will be held in abeyance with immediate effect until Pakistan credibly and irrevocably abjures its support for cross-border terrorism. 2. The integrated checkpost Atari will be closed with immediate effect. Those who have crossed over with valid endorsements may return through that route before 1 May 2025. 3. Pakistani nationals will not be permitted to travel to India under the SAARC visa exemption scheme visas. Any SVES visas issued in the past to Pakistani nationals are deemed cancelled. Any Pakistani national currently in India under SVES visa has 48 hours to leave India. 4. The Defence, Military, Naval and Air advisors in the Pakistani High Commission in New Delhi are declared persona non grata. They have a week to leave India. India will be withdrawing its own Defence, Navy and Air advisors from the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. These posts in the respective High Commissions are deemed annulled. 5 support staff of the service advisors will also be withdrawn from both High Commissions. 5. The overall strength of the High Commissions will be brought down to 30 from the present 55 through further reductions to be effected by 1st May 2025. The CCS reviewed the overall security situation.
My colleague Nazir Masoodi has been tracking all the finer developments as far as Pahalgam is concerned. He joins us over the phone line at the moment. Nazir, what are you picking up from the ground in Jammu and Kashmir following the CCS decisions? Any heightened security measures? Take us through the public sentiment post-announcement.
Well, what we have been reporting from day one, that the response of India to Pahalgam terror attack would be beyond Pahalgam and beyond Kashmir. That exactly has happened. So, suspending Indus Water Treaty is a huge decision with huge implications as well. And then other decisions, which has its own decision. And on the ground here, the security is all-time high. Multiple operations are going on, including one in Pahalgam, though no much success when it comes to being closer to tracking down the attackers of Pahalgam attackers who killed 26 innocent tourists and injured 17 others. Government has taken several precautionary measures. Among them is the teachers from the Kashmir Pandit community who are serving in different parts of the valley. They have been given asked to work from home, so they should not attend their duties given the security sensitivities these days. Also, government has called an all-party meeting today. Umar Abdullah has called an all-party meeting today at around 3 in Srinagar. Jammu and Kashmir Cabinet has advised the Lieutenant Governor to summon a special one-day session of Jammu and Kashmir Assembly on 28th of this month, and which would collectively condemn this barbaric terror attack. And so they're at multiple levels, which is the response. There's a political response, there's security response, and there's also social response. We have seen people from different walks of the life, common people, civil society members, traders, yesterday carried out multiple processions, protests, shouting slogans against terrorism, violence, and condemning the killing of innocent people. And yesterday was the first time when there was a shutdown across Jammu and Kashmir against militants and militancy. So it is actually a watershed development. Not only, this is that innocent people have been killed, this is also how people are taking stand at social level against terrorism and violence.
Thank you so much for joining us with the latest from Ground Zero. Meanwhile, India has summoned Pakistan's top diplomat in Delhi, Saad Ahmed Barech, and handed over the formal persona non grata note for its military diplomats. This is what our sources have confirmed. But for further clarity on the matter, we have with us strategic affairs expert Dr. Brahmachalani joining us. Sir, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. India is now said to have handed over the formal persona non grata note for Pakistan's military diplomats. How unprecedented are all these latest moves, including that suspension of a World Bank brokered Indus Water Treaty? What are the broader geopolitical ramifications, sir? And are we actually looking at an immediate impact, or do we have to wait a few years?
There will be no immediate impact. These 5 different steps announced by the government of India are largely symbolic. If you take the Indus Water Treaty, it will have no legal significance or meaning because holding a bilateral treaty in abeyance will not free India from its legal commitments.
Right.
So we have to be clear that the Modi government was under public pressure to respond to the horrific terrorist attack in Pahalgam. This is the worst terrorist attack on civilians since the Mumbai terror attacks of 2008. In fact, the attack in Pahalgam, where Hindus were singled out and slaughtered, that attack had some shades of what happened in 1990 when Islamists in the Kashmir Valley expelled the native Hindu minority by killing hundreds of Hindus. So unfortunately, what we are seeing in the Kashmir Valley is an attempt to bring the valley back to the dark days of 1990.
Right.
All this put pressure on the government of India to respond. There were calls for retribution. Now, the 5 steps that the government of India has announced, of course, are not a substitute for what it has resolved to do. It has resolved to bring the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack to justice, as well as their sponsors. So the announcement yesterday of 5 steps should be seen only as a first move toward making Pakistan pay for the Pahalgam attack.
So you say that these latest moves by the government are largely symbolic because it's going to be taking a few years to come into action. And it is understood that Prime Minister Modi's government is under immense pressure. But sir, is India's tough response likely to isolate Pakistan further diplomatically or risk pushing regional relations into a deeper freeze, especially with China also watching closely? What's your take?
Well, China has become the main backer of Pakistan today. It's propping up the Pakistani state. It's playing the role that the US played for many decades when it propped up Pakistan as a counterweight to India, providing Pakistan with military hardware, with all kinds of assistance. The same role China is playing today. And even before the latest steps announced by the government of India, the relationship between Pakistan and India was largely frozen. But on the other hand, we should not forget that even with the expulsion of the defense, naval and air advisors,
Yes.
the high commissions, the Indian High Commission in Islamabad and the Pakistan High Commission in New Delhi, their overall strength will be brought down to 30, which is still larger than the Canadian High Commission strength in New Delhi or the Indian High Commission strength in Ottawa.
Meanwhile, sir, with the SAARC visa exemption suspended now for Pakistani nationals and further downgrades in our diplomatic ties, would you argue that New Delhi is signaling the collapse of SAARC as a viable regional framework?
Well, SAARC is a dormant institution. It has no future, largely because it locks India into a subcontinental framework which is antithetical to India's strategic interests. In fact, SAARC is essentially undivided India. India's core region extends beyond SAARC, and SAARC visa exemption scheme under which Pakistanis were getting this visa exemption is interesting that India was still providing visa exemptions to Pakistanis, and of course they were these Pakistanis had to belong to certain categories who are eligible for the SAARC visa exemption scheme.
Right.
But the fact that India was still providing visa exemptions to Pakistani nationals was significant, and I think its withdrawal is again largely symbolic.
And so what role do you then see the United States playing in these coming weeks, especially given the extradition of the Havur Rana and India's push for a more action-oriented global counter-terror regime?
You've seen how President Trump, the Secretary of State Mark Rubio, and other senior US officials were quick to condemn in very forthright terms the terrorist attack in Pahalgam. This is quite a contrast to the way the Biden administration responded to Pakistani terror attacks in India. And also it's very important to keep in mind that last week the FBI arrested a Khalistan militant against whom India's National Intelligence Agency, National Investigation Agency, had issued cash reward in January, cash reward for his arrest. Within 3 months of the NIA issuing a cash reward for this militant's arrest, the FBI arrested this guy, which suggests that the two countries are now again cooperating on counterterrorism. This does not mean that that there is counterterrorism cooperation even on Pakistan,
right.
But that's a very important step toward building counterterrorism cooperation even on Pakistan.
Well, as always, Dr. Chelani, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Well, in the wake of the Pahalgam terror attack in which 26 civilians were gunned down, I must also inform you that the government has called for an all-party meeting at 6 p.m. this evening. This is what our sources have informed us. In fact, our sources indicate that Home Minister Amit Shah and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh have been in touch with party chiefs, and this crucial meeting will take place this evening at 6 p.m. as per the latest details shared via our sources.